Well. Welcome again to another episode of Business and Life Insights with me, Sharon Onyango, aka Night Atiena, and Mr. James Bartlett-Ellis, double-barreled
Hello.
name.
Hello
So
from the
James is a
UK.
long-time friend of mine from the UK. And today we're just going to talk about business and life just generally to give people more of an insight that a lot of people are trying to go abroad for an easier life or a better life. A lot of people are running business here thinking that maybe running business abroad is better. So they're constantly working and paying other people thousands and thousands of shillings and dollars or pounds equivalent to get sort of like a, voyage to another country, thinking that it's a better deal. But we'll get to that. So James, please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Well, I have been self-employed and I have lived in London for over 35 years.
Yes.
22 of those years, 23 of those years have been self-employed in the central heating and facilities management business.
Yes.
So I've had a lot of experience and a lot of ups and downs. I'm currently working as a contractor for one of the UK's biggest businesses.
Yes.
Who I won't mention here, but they're a large retailer.
Yes.
And they've got over 300,000 employees. So it's very interesting to see how they do things.
Yes.
What else do you want to know about?
It's basically, I know that I don't know how much you want me to disclose of how much I know about you, but I know that you left home at an early age, and many youngsters now are scared of leaving home because they don't want to start on their own. You know what I mean? So
yes.
If you just tell us a bit about that journey and how you came into self-employment, how you came into owning your own company,
Well, I came from a background of self-employed people. I came from a farming community, so
yes.
that inherently
yes.
people are self-employed.
Yes.
They're also very self-reliant, and I think that's common with farmers all over the globe.
That's true.
My particular part of my family were not professionals. There was a significant number on my mother's side who went to university and were professionals. On my father's side, they were all predominantly farmers or associated with the farming community and industry.
Yes.
I left school with very few O levels. I managed to get some, but I didn't have much formal education.
Yes.
So my education ended at 16 and a bit. I went to the States for a couple of years to work on farms in the southern states.
Yes.
And then I came back and had a series of jobs. I'd left home because I had to.
Yeah.
And I went through an enormous, I think I sat down at dinner once and somebody said to me, do you know, we've been thinking about how many jobs you've had. And they started a rundown of jobs that even I had forgotten about. They must have got to about 30.
Yes.
So and subsequently I've had a few more. But I became self-employed because I didn't like working for people.
Yes.
And I wanted to do something for myself. And
yes.
Once you've made that decision, I think that's the first thing.
Yeah.
The next thing is, of course, what skills do you have to be self-employed?
Yeah.
Do you know what you need to be
yes.
successful? And I suppose one has to look at other people who are running their own businesses, and you have
yes.
your heroes.
Yeah.
You may have, one of the great things about setting up business in UK
yes.
is that it is relatively easy.
Yes.
You just buy a company off the shelf and you can start, or you can just turn up one day and just say, right, I'm going to be a self-employed plumber, for example.
yes.
You can do it. You can buy a van, buy the tools, and somehow promote yourself, and
yes.
you're in business.
Yeah.
And as long as you pay your taxes and state clearly what you're up to, you're pretty much left to do whatever you like.
Yeah. I think it's the same here in Kenya, and what happens in the UK is very much what happens in Kenya, because we are governed by more or less the same laws. It's like Kenya is the small sister or small brother of or the illegitimate cousin
Yes.
of the UK.
Yes.
So basically, when whatever the UK does, Kenya seems to follow, or even the legacy laws that were left to
Yes.
us from colonial times, a lot of them still govern us. So again, in Kenya, it's not really that difficult. And this is what I keep saying to people. All I've done is I've set up 3 businesses since April. Yes.
Yeah.
All I've done is I've decided what I wanted to do. As you say, I've then gone to the local government, which is what we have to do here, and said to them, this is where I'm running my business from. This is the business that I want to run. What do I need to get? Can you give me a fire permit and a license for my business? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Have a mobile thing. And nowadays, in this day and age where there's so much out here, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you can have a website like this overnight for next to nothing.
Yes.
You know, it's really not that difficult to set up a business and start. It must have been a little bit more difficult when you started a few years ago.
A long time ago. It was very, very different. And in many ways, it was a lot simpler, because public relations and promotion now is, although it's easy to access, it is very sophisticated in its effectiveness. Whereas when I started, basically you could walk around with leaflets and pamphlets, put them through people's doors. You had printed yellow pages.
Oh yes, that's true.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of print material. I mean, people will look at me now when I say that and they say, what? But that's how it was. You put adverts in local, and I have to say, they were, in my experience, statistically, quite effective, because it was a much, much smaller pool of exposure to promotions. Now, it's massive. So, and I don't claim to understand this, so I'm not going to talk about it, because I know youngsters have a very, very deep understanding of how the modern world works in terms of spreading messages and pertinent.
Of course.
For business. Not my field of expertise.
Well, they were born with it.
That's right.
We just landed in it. I know, like, there's a bit of age gap between me and you, but coming from Africa, it might as well not be in terms of technology.
Well, of course, Africa is way ahead of the rest of the world.
Now it is, but when I was a youngster, like, I didn't see my first computer until 1997.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
But how things have changed.
I know, right? I'm such an expert now, not.
Yeah. No, but seriously, one of the amazing things is that in Africa, you've skipped, I don't know how many generations.
That's true.
And you all do business on your phones.
Yeah, everything.
The transfer, it's just, I mean, no wonder the West is going, my God, we need a slice of it. We need to get in there.
I literally haven't stepped in a bank from the day that I opened my account. I've been there like a couple of times, and I've only used the cash point maybe 4 or 5 times since January. So because everything is automated, there's different ways of paying. You don't even have to pay just with your bank card.
No.
You know? And people like us who are Apple users, we have Apple Pay as well as M-Pesa and the rest, you know. So it's really good. But what would you say? I mean, things have changed. Like now, Yellow Pages and companies like that, they've all gone online.
Yes.
You know, because they had to. You know, companies like Blockbuster, who should have put their whole catalog online and didn't. Netflix came and wiped them out. Yeah.
Well, we can see very one of the biggest differences. I mean, I want to hark back to the fundamentals, but the biggest difference I have seen, although I'm in a very traditional business, is how fast businesses can be transformed in this environment. There are some things, engineering I think is probably a good example,
Yes.
it is affected, but because it moves at a certain way and requires certain elements,
Yes.
it's not quickly affected.
Yes.
Whereas if you're in a very, very heavily service orientated industry like the media,
Yes.
things change in a month.
We're talking
you
about
can have
in
a
a
viable
month.
you can have a viable business
Yeah.
one month and it's gone the next.
That's true.
So I think that is the most extraordinary thing. That's an opportunity, but it is also worrying. But nevertheless, one of the fundamental things about doing any form of business, and I worked in the city as well for 7 years,
Yes.
is that all of the people that I've ever worked for and myself is you must be organized and you must have vision.
Yes.
What do you want to do? Are you doing something vocational?
Yes.
Try not to copy other people. Do
Yes.
take example, but don't copy them.
Yes.
Because you're not them.
Exactly.
But you can see very successful people doing things and you can go, I need to do that. But what am I doing it? What am I doing? Why am I doing it?
Exactly.
And can I organize myself? Because one lesson I have learned over the years, and this is from being an old man, is that some of the most successful people I've ever come across have not only created opportunities, but they've endured.
Yes.
They've endured. They've kept going when things have gone very badly wrong.
Yes.
And they've failed.
Yeah.
Although it isn't necessarily, they don't think of it as a failure.
No.
That's an interesting thing.
Yes.
They think, oh, well, it was a big problem. I went bust. Oh, how much did you lose? Oh, everything. What? Yeah, I lost my house, all my money.
Yes.
And they came along and took my car,
yes.
and I had to borrow my mum's car. And you go, really? And they don't care. They don't think, oh, well, I'm going to borrow some money. How are you going to do that? I don't know.
But I'm going to keep going. All they know is I cannot go and look for work in someone's place. All they know is I want to be self-employed. I want to be self-sufficient. I want to be a master of my own destiny. If I lose it all, so what? I've learned lessons, so I will not fall there again.
Correct.
But I'll go again.
That's the thing. Learn. Don't keep repeating it. I have to say I've accidentally repeated a few things, but we're all human.
Only by accident.
I think only by accident. But I think be clear about what you want to do, and also the most important thing is, despite your ambition, curb it.
Yes.
Because things take time, and we are not the masters of time. We are neither are we the masters of opportunity. We may be able to create them. Yes. So there's this great thing in UK. I don't know why particularly, but there's the 3-year plan, isn't there? As my boss used to say, "Oh, we'll do a business plan," and he'd look at it and think, "Well," and then he put it in the bin, and you go, "Why have you done that, Norman?" Well, those are the lies. Now let's talk about the truth. Yeah. But it's a template. Always have some sort of. I don't like doing business plans, but they clarify your thinking, and at least you have some sort of pathway to follow. Yes. And my experience is, unless you're very lucky and you touch on something magical, which most people don't, you're going to have to put an awful lot of very regular, disciplined effort into the first 2 years of your business.
But that's why a lot of people say do a 3 to 5 year plan, because for a fact most business, 90% of businesses, maybe even more, because some businesses are not registered, so we don't know when they start and when they die. You see, so at least 90% of businesses die in the first 2 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You see what I mean?
About that.
So the people who go past the first 2 years are 10%. And then 90% of those will die in that 3rd and 4th year.
Yes, it's a high. It's a high rate of attrition. Exactly. But what I would say is, don't worry about that, because business is it's high risk. Yes. But you have to learn. Yes. And quite often, as anybody who knows, if you're a sportsman, for example, a sports person, you know full well
Yes.
that your attainment of your goals in sport is made up of trial and tribulation and
100%.
failure.
Yeah.
Failure. And you are going to fail at some
Yeah.
things. I'm not saying it'd be catastrophic,
Yeah.
but you will, because
Yeah.
that's part of being human.
Yeah.
And you're aspiring to create something that's
Exactly.
unique to you.
Yes.
Therefore, you're not fully conversant
Mm-hmm.
in how to go about it. It's a voyage of discovery.
That's it.
I would also say, always look about you to people, speak to people. I've never really, I can't say that I've had a lot of good advice
Mm-hmm.
in my life about business, but occasionally you do find, if you're prepared to speak to people and ask them, what are you doing? How do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Some people
Mm-hmm.
will tell you the truth. I haven't found that many, but some will, and those things are very, those comments are useful. The other thing is, do look about your world.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be everything.
No.
So the important thing is to delegate, and I've been very, very bad at delegating.
Mm-hmm. Don't
And
we all know it?
Yeah, very bad indeed.
Yes.
And I think if somebody said, what has been your biggest error being self-employed, it has always been me going, oh yes, I will do that.
Yes.
Well, you haven't got time.
Yeah.
And it's important to be able to evaluate what you need and find people who are appropriate, with appropriate high-end skills, to do things for you. This can be difficult because it requires money.
Yes.
But you will learn good, bad, and indifferent how to do that. And it is vital. The reason, I mean, I've run a successful business for a long time, but it has not been substantial. And one of the reasons is that you must delegate in order for you to be able to get on and do what you are doing, which is creating something that makes money.
That's it.
It has to make, even if you only make £1
yes,
at the end of the year, you've been successful.
Yeah.
But obviously you want a lot more than that.
Yeah, of course, but you haven't had a loss.
Correct. Now,
You've made money.
Correct. If you can get to that stage, you're being quite successful.
And
you haven't started the business to make a quid.
Yeah.
And there are all kinds of ways of making profit. That's the other thing.
Yes.
You must have a good account of what is happening on a daily basis. I think that can be a hard one, but if you set up a very simple, I mean, even if it's just looking at your bank account.
That's it.
You must know what you're doing. You must know what margins you can make.
Yes.
And you must know that at every quarter, at least, you must look at your business as a whole and go, is it working? Now, it may not be making a concrete profit.
Yes.
But is it within your bounds to absorb whatever losses there are within it?
Yes.
Because if it's not, you have to start looking, is this business going to do me in?
Yes.
Am I doing something wrong here?
Yes.
Because I'm making very big early losses.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can, if you plan those, that can be part of your business plan. Yes, I know I'm going to make it.
Yes.
But if it isn't, you must be very careful, because you'll pour something that will vacuum your...
It will ban you, because like some businesses are capital intensive and some aren't. So for example, like the studio business that we set up here, it's very capital intensive initially. And then it's also time consuming, because you have to create content. And not only do you have to create content, you also have to be constantly present. It's like having a newborn. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I create, like now we're having an interview, we've spoken about it, but on the day this interview airs, I have to be there for the full time so that I can comment on, I can engage with the people. So let's say I'm doing 3 or 4 interviews and I haven't yet made it to being able to get someone else to do the commenting or whatever for me, or I just choose to, because let's face it, self-employed people are mainly self-employed because they don't like to be told what to do.
Yes, I think that's That's a basic. That's very common. I think you're right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't like to be told what to do. That's number one. Number two, we have this thing in our being that if I tell someone to do it and they don't do it properly, then I have to come and do it myself. So I might as well just do it.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that one. As I say, you have
but
to
it's a common one.
Yes.
It's a common one that leads people to owning jobs and not businesses.
Correct.
Because owning a job just means that you work your guts out, one man, one job, or one woman, one job, for those who like to be politically correct.
Yes.
So you've got this job, you wake up every morning 6 to 6, you're selling your time to this job. The only difference is you're your own boss. So you own a job.
Yes.
A business, on the other hand, exactly. A business, on the other hand, should be able to survive you.
Correct. That's right. That's the stage you want to get to.
Exactly. So if you create
I can walk away from this.
Exactly. Yes. If you create something that dies with you, you own a job.
That's a very good point. And that's an excellent point, actually. Yes. And that is what a very substantial majority of people, and I've been guilty of this as well, end up doing.
Exactly.
You are the business. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing if that's what you want.
Yeah, of course. It's not entirely a bad thing, but it's one to be aware of.
But as you've rightly pointed out, it's an excellent point. You're not really running a business because you are it.
Yes.
So you have to be clear about your demarcation lines. Do I want to be self-employed because I'd just like to tick over?
Yes.
Or am I creating a business? Now, if you are creating a business, that is a whole other universe. What is it based on? How is your story? And I think a lot of one-man bands, one-woman bands don't have that story. They start and they continue. And they're quite good at it.
Yeah.
They tick along. And then 10 years later, the people say, how's your business doing? And you go, well, yeah, it's all right, actually, but it's still only me.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So it's still only you. Okay, good. I hope that suits you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure, actually. I think I may have missed out here. I don't know. You have to be. But also, businesses, as you know, some people do things like, I know an aero engineer who, very clever, and his business made itself. He was a very clever engineer. Somebody said to him, he's about my age, very successful. And somebody said, we need people to make these parts. And he was working for one of Rolls-Royce or somebody like that.
Yeah.
And he said, we don't do that. And the guy said, well, we need somebody to do these things, a specialist. He said, okay, well, I'll do it. Set up his business. And all he was not a businessman.
Yeah.
He was an engineer.
Yes.
But he started, and the demand just made his business.
Yes.
And he got people on board, good bookkeepers, expanded very fast. It was a very high-end, high-value business.
Yes.
So, and he had the skills to do it. And it was just a logical thing. And this kind of thing can happen.
Yeah.
But for most of us, it doesn't.
Yes.
What are we? What do we do in our business? Now, I'll use myself as an example, because then I won't start saying things that are too questionable.
Yeah.
But my skills are practical skills. I mean, I can install an industrial boiler room from start to finish and wire it up and do all the controls.
Yes.
That hasn't come from nowhere.
Of course
That's a
not.
series of skills.
Yes.
Where are you on your skill level? Are you a technical, hands-on skill level? Is this your business?
Yes.
Or are you somebody who's a brilliant guy or girl on a computer?
Yeah.
Where I mean, Africa, it must be booming with this kind of facility. What is your skill? Where does it lie?
Yes.
And it may be that your particular skill can be run out so fast, and you can make a huge amount of money really quickly. But you still have the basic phenomenon is, who am I? What do I do?
Exactly.
Am I organized, which is
Yes.
very important, because if you're very lucky, your business takes off. One of the other biggest reasons for failure, very highly successful businesses going too quickly.
Yes.
No
Expanding
monetary
too quickly,
control.
because the thing is,
Yeah.
a lot of us start, like you say, this engineer, yeah, he got into business, he fell into it. You
Yeah.
see, there was demand for it. He was the right guy for the job in the right
Yeah.
place at the right time. So it
Correct.
started. But a lot of us start. Yesterday, I was talking to a good friend of mine who I interviewed yesterday, and Clarice. And she said that she, again, like most of us, fall into that fast business or even another opportunity. She started an events business by doing one birthday, because she
Yes.
thought, I've got the skills, I'm at home,
Yes.
I'm nursing my child, I've got this job
Yeah.
that is not allowing me to be a mother, I'm going to stop it for a year because they're not going
Yes.
to allow me maternity pay. So I'm just going to put my priorities right for her. I'm not saying that mothers who don't are not right, but
Yes.
for
No,
her,
no.
she decided that
Yeah.
she wanted to be home with her child, and her
Yes.
partner could afford to sustain them for the period of time that she needed to be home. So
Yes.
she was home. So she decided, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to do this birthday. She was asked to organize a birthday party. She started it.
Right.
And they were so
Yeah.
happy, they paid her.
Yes.
And she did another one. And she thought, and
Yeah.
everyone kept saying, why don't you just do this for a living? So
Yes. Yes.
the equivalent of about 80 quid,
Yes.
or slightly less, which is about 10,000 shillings, she
Yes.
started buying a few chairs, a few, like she said, a small sound system like that, slowly. Before you knew
Yeah.
it, she had a tent, she had chairs, she had everything. And now she has a massively successful
Yeah.
events business.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as
But
you
a great
said,
example.
yeah,
Great example
you
of how
have to
business.
start. You have to be able to, if and when you're in a thing that grows too quickly, you have to be able to call in those people who have expertise beyond you. Because when your business grows too
Absolutely.
quickly, it means that it's making money. Use that money wisely. Don't just think about paying yourself, buying that next car, going to your next holiday, doing, the next thing. That your business is your baby. You cannot leave your baby and go on holiday just because it's crawling now.
Absolutely. And of course, if your business does, if you're that lucky, which is a
Yeah.
great position to be in, and it does happen, you're not learning the lessons.
Yes.
Because the business moves faster than you
Too
can.
quick. Yes.
So you must, as I say, delegate and find good people. And that's another skill set. Are you good at reading people? How do you find it? And that will peak and trough.
Yes.
But whether your business is moving at the speed of light or
Yes.
whether it's at the speed of a snail, the same things apply to it.
100%.
I think there are great commonalities. Be organized, be good at, be disciplined, be observant, be open, apply yourself. If things aren't working, change them.
Yes.
We're all reluctant to do that.
That's it.
And that's when you observe your business. Is it doing what I want it to do? And is it working? Is it going in the right direction? No, it's not. Why? Because that's me. What do I need to do to change? In business is crucial. I love change. I would have change every 6 months, and I do love change. I mean, I'll give you an example. I have had in the last year and a half, I have worked 8 different contracts.
Yes.
And there's a good reason for that, because
yes.
I needed to do certain things,
yes.
and I could only do it by changing my contracts.
Okay. And can I ask
there was
you a
no
question?
alternative.
You said earlier that you left school with few qualifications, a few GCSEs, right? Which is in Kenya a bit under our O level, because we do O levels. We used to have O levels and A levels, and they scrapped it.
I did O levels.
That's what
old-fashioned O levels.
Exactly. Yeah. So we used to have both, the same as you guys. But then what they did is they scratched it and they combined the whole syllabus. So even though it's called an O level, it's the equivalent of the A levels in the UK. Yeah. So
you guys are so much better at your fundamental education.
We are, and then you get to university.
You're
and you're like, hey!
very, very good. Yeah, amazing. Many lessons for us to learn, I think.
Yeah. So would you say that that disadvantaged you in any way? Have you found that maybe not going to university at that young age allowed you to learn a lot more, about life, and to be able to find your way and then get your vocation, the thing that you enjoyed to do, and then doing courses that were actually geared to that one thing that you chose to go ahead with? Of course, it's a vast thing. It's a big, it's not being an engineer, like systems engineer?
Or gas and systems.
Yeah, gas and systems engineer. It's not something that you just start one day, something that you work on for years and years. And now you're doing big commercial projects, and obviously you've had to educate yourself through the years, you didn't just go in and learn it on the job, just on the job. You've had to do courses, no?
Oh God, yes, yeah. I mean, it's constant, and we're retested every 5 years, which I have to say is a bit of a damn nuisance, but certainly keeps you sharp. Yes, I think I'm not quite sure what to say about this. My personal experience was I wouldn't do it the same way. I was forced to learn lessons fast, which has served me quite well. I think in terms of time, it was expensive because you're creating your own intellectual infrastructure, largely. And you are out in the world, which is a tough place to be if you can't hang your hat on something. So it took me a long time to actually find who I was. Once you do that, if you know that, I think you're okay, and you can head off in the direction you need to. And of course, not having a university qualification was an impediment in some respects, in that if I had been a more academic frame of mind and wanted to pursue a career, I would have had to go back to university. But as it happens, I had a lot of practical skills and can turn my hands to everything and I've done all kinds of things, from pipeline welding to you name it, really, all kinds of things. But that adaptability, I think, is very important if you're adaptable. And the other thing I should say to people is, you only have to be good enough. You do not have to be a genius. Be good enough. And I think being organized, adaptable, and able to approach various things, a variety of elements within your business. You do not have to be brilliant at it. But you do have to be consistent. They're vital. If I was going to give anybody advice, be consistent and take the pressure off yourself. If things aren't going that well and you're doing something, try and find somebody else to do it. You have knowledge and therefore you can judge, but don't keep at something that doesn't suit you. But I've turned my hands to all kinds of things, and I've spent, I would say, probably a little bit too much time getting involved in things that intrigue me. And that's helped me because now I'm involved at the moment in, I walk into superstores and have to find and correct faults on systems so that the places can keep running. And that's a big,
it's massive.
It's a very big responsibility, because if you don't get it right quickly, your customer is losing huge amounts of money. And that's a lot of pressure, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
So would you say that is one advantage of being self-employed, of being your own boss? What would the maybe 3 top things that being your own boss have afforded you in your life?
Well, the most important for me is a sense of self and your responsibility to yourself. To know and to be clear, and I think this is the way I function, that when you decide to embark upon a project for a customer or a client, the buck stops with you. And I like that, because you are the guy or girl in charge. You plan it, you present it,
Yes.
you execute it. I largely execute most of what I do with the help of one or two other people. You take responsibility. That's incredibly satisfying.
Yes.
It's also incredibly stressful on occasions.
Of
I mean,
course.
there are times where in the early days I worked for a client, and I think you know about this one. I did a very complicated installation in a very, very large house, and I had never done one before.
Yes.
Ever. And I'd never worked with anybody who'd done one before.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, I don't know whether I can do this.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, people out there, you will be amazed
at how much you can do. Yeah.
Absolutely. You'll be sitting there thinking, oh my God. But be organized,
Yes.
have faith, look
Yes.
for information, plan,
Yes.
and do it.
Exactly. Just do it.
Do it.
Do like that.
Because you're not in charge, remember? You're not. I would say to you are not in charge. You're just making opportunities.
Yes.
You're not in control.
That is
and
so true.
I think if some of the great public entrepreneurs
Yes.
were being honest about it, they would say the same thing.
100%. Most of them do already. If you listen to them, you know,
do they?
tell
well,
you,
I think.
Yeah, what they say, a lot of them say, listen, most of them started the big millionaires, now billionaires. Most of them started with nothing, maybe in a garage, maybe with an idea. They started, you know. So number one, just start. Know why you're starting, know why you're doing it, because when you know why you're doing it, you will not give up.
Correct.
When times get tough.
Because it's with you every day.
Exactly. You've got the faith.
I want to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know why you're doing it. So no matter who says what or who tries to dissuade you, or even some days you wake up and you try to dissuade yourself because you think to yourself, I've got bills due, I've got this due. But what you have to remember is you're building something for you.
Yes. It's your investment.
Exactly.
It's a lifetime investment. You're investing in your life. The money is secondary in many. I know a lot of people go, oh yes, I want to make money. That's fine. That's fine. But you have to remember, in order to make that money and be successful, you have to spend money. You have to spend money, but you have to be functioning.
That's it.
So that you're investing in yourself constantly.
Yeah.
Because you're the person who's driving.
Yes.
The whole project.
Yes.
And you may not have all the knowledge, but you don't need it.
No.
You just have to be in it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you have to live it.
Yes.
You have to live. I think that's the common thing. I mean, I know, as you probably do, I know people who've been around for ages. I went to get a van tested yesterday at a garage down the road at Loughborough Junction, and it's this Greek guy and his cousins, who are, interestingly enough, I'll have to tell you a story at some point because it's synchronicity.
Yes.
Synchronicity, because his mother lives in what's near Lake Victoria to oh God, was it Kisumu? Kisumu.
Yeah, Kisumu.
This guy's, anyway, I digress because I must tell you about that.
Yes.
That happened yesterday. And he's been there for very nearly 40 years.
Yeah.
So what he did was he set up a business from nothing.
Yes.
Absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Didn't have any money.
Yes.
Hired a garage, repairs. It's quite big, but not very big.
Yeah.
And he's arrived at a point where it works for him and he's happy.
Yeah.
But you walk into the place, it's immaculate. You know, it's immaculate.
Yeah.
And everything is orderly.
Nice.
And it works. And they treat all their customers the same.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how you turn up or what you turn up in.
Yeah.
There's a consistency, and I think that's another one that people forget. Is your business consistent in its approach to your customers? Because after all, they're the people who are going to pay you.
Exactly.
So what is your face to the world? Mine is me.
Yes.
And that's a good thing and a bad thing, because not everybody will like you. It doesn't matter how good you are,
That is
not
so
everybody
true.
will like you.
That's so,
And
and you can't take it personally in business.
you
Just the
can't.
same as
You
you
can't.
don't
No.
like some people for no reason at all. And some
Yep.
people, you'll do a good job for them and they will never refer you, even friends,
Correct.
you know?
Correct.
So you can't
Yeah.
take
Don't
any of
expect
it
that.
personally, you know?
No. You
Take it
you
on the
must.
chin and
Yeah.
move on.
And move on to the next customer, because there will
Yeah.
be one.
Oh, yeah.
There will be another customer.
As you
And I
say,
think
as long
also,
as you have consistency and integrity.
yes, do that. You're in it to make money. Your
Yeah.
business. You have to remember, you must make money. You must be
Yes.
clear about, what is a reasonable margin, and what your simple things. How much money do I want to make?
Yeah.
What must I do to make a certain margin?
Exactly.
If I decide on this margin, how do I go about it? How do I sell it? How will my customers feel about paying me the
Yes.
amounts of money I need to make this work?
Yes.
And that there's another point. There are so many points. I mean, I should have really written some of this down.
Yes.
But you will find, I've certainly found, that my margins vary considerably sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's dependent on the amount of businesses coming in, the quality of that business, and also the sophistication of the service that I'm supplying.
Of
The
course.
higher up it is, the fewer people that will compete with me,
Of course.
and therefore my charges are commensurate, not unreasonable, but commensurate, as it should be, because you are in business.
Of course. And of course, if for you, and this is what people don't realize in business, is you have to self-educate, you have to self-improve, because at the end of the day, you can't start at £10 an hour and expect to, in 3 years, be earning £50 an hour without investing in your education to be able to demand that £50 an hour, to be able to give that service that is worth £50 an hour. You see,
unless,
you have
of course,
to spend
that's
that £5,000 that you think you haven't got.
Yes, you do often.
You
have to go and find. Yes. Well, that's a very good point. And another thing there are so many things worth remembering, but sometimes that's an excellent point. You will realize that you're short of something.
Yes.
You're short of a skill. Or, I mean, my example would be not only the skill, but the tools. Now, recently, I've spent an enormous amount of money on new tools for a new style of pipe jointing. Eye-watering amounts, actually.
Of course.
But you must have this. You must, and your tools can be intellectual, academic, philosophical, or tangible tools that you go and buy, or whatever it is, PR, whatever it is.
Yes.
But yes, and sometimes you think, oh my God, I'm short of money. Actually, if I go and do this, I'm going to be minus.
Yes.
Well, I'm afraid you have to be minus, because if you have taken the steps to analyze that this is what I need, you must go and get it.
Yes.
You have to get it.
Of course.
Because if you realize it, you must go, and that can be a bit frightening sometimes, especially if your business is not making a lot of money.
Yes.
But you have to work it in. Can I borrow the money, spread the costs out? You have to beg, borrow, and do whatever you need to do to keep
get to
your
the next
business.
level.
Absolutely. And sometimes, also when you're doing that, it's taking up time.
Of course.
And you're thinking, well, I wanted to make this amount of money and I've been going for a year and a half. Well, I would say to you, my experience is it's just not going to happen in a year and a half. I've seen people in businesses. I have a very good friend who's in the motorcycle trade. He's a Ducati specialist, and he's a genius. He's totally wonderful. But I remember watching him start a business with some help from a supplier.
Yes.
And the business it was a retail business, and it was generating quite a lot of cash.
Yes.
But that was commensurate with a very, very high overhead.
Yes.
And he started spending his cash. And the inevitable happened extremely quickly. There was a very successful business, but it was successful from an accounting point of view.
That's it.
but if you looked at it and spreadsheeted it over a month, it wasn't making profit,
Yeah.
but there was plenty of cash.
Cash.
Keep your hands off the cash.
That is such a, you should
Yes,
talk
dude.
to my brothers and sisters from the lakeside. Us Luos, we like our iPhones. We like our Range Rovers.
Yes.
We like to
and
sit on our
clothes.
Wallets so that we are taller when we're sitting than when we are standing.
Yes.
We like to spread the cash.
Yes.
So when
and open our wallets.
I know.
Yes.
When a Lua person starts a business and you see them making their fast money, you will know about it. You know? You will know about it.
Don't do that.
No.
I think sometimes you can, I mean, it depends what business you're in. Sometimes I think there are certain businesses, when I worked in the computer industry and you went to visit a client, you had to be seen to turn up
looking
in a good car, and you had to dress well, conservatively, and you had to look the part. Now, it may be that you need to do these things. They're your investment. That's bona fide.
Exactly.
But for goodness sake, if you're running, I don't know, a company that's really good at selling a product, and it doesn't matter what you run around it. I mean, I'll give you an example. One of the richest people I ever met who worked in the city, I won't name him. Well, when I first met him, he had a partner who dressed beautifully in these beautiful suits, and they were in the city of London. And Robert was the boss.
Yes.
And he had on a Marks and Spencer's suit.
And that's not expensive.
It was an off the peg, £100 suit in those days. And he was a multi-millionaire. And he bought his suits from Marks and Spencer's.
Sorry.
Go on.
I'm not a millionaire in pounds yet, but I go to the thrift shop. I buy my clothes for 200 shillings, which is what, about just over £1.50?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because
look good. Look good.
We have to think about what matters. When you're setting up a business, when you're creating this thing, when you're building your empire, there are certain things that matter. As you say, if you have to look a certain way, if you're in a client-facing role, and it demands you, which is less and less now, actually, because nobody really cares what you wear. Because we know people like Mark Zuckerberg, he runs around in jeans and a t-shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he can afford to. He's in an industry that's
our children are growing up in a world where you're not judged so much by what you wear, but by the content of who you are.
Yes, I think that is true. It's less so now.
But
there are still industries where you have to look
like
right.
estate agents in the UK, most of them will run around in suits.
Yeah.
You see? And that's a choice. But for me, I wouldn't think any less of an estate agent if they got me what I wanted because they were not in a suit. But it's tradition.
You wouldn't, no. Yeah, it is a tradition. I think there is still, in certain industries, there's an expectation of how people look.
But you're selling a house in Plumstead, though.
Well, that's why maybe your suit is probably not handmade.
That's what I'm saying. You're not selling an apartment in Knightsbridge.
Well, no. Does the degree of honesty reflect in the quality and cost of your suit? No. Is it commensurate? No. But anyway, some of the biggest crooks I've ever met have been in tailor-made Savile suits.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
It's a uniform. So
basically, I would just like to say, because obviously you've been in business for a long time and you've given us such amazing nuggets within this interview already. But
there's a lot we haven't covered.
I know, but don't worry. You can even be like a regular guest here. We love you. Our producer look, our producer is going.
Oh, right. Well, I have to say, before you sign off, I think it's interesting to talk to an audience in another country, but I think what is most pertinent is that the massive dynamic of Africa as a whole and the extraordinary lessons that Africa as a whole is teaching the West
Yes.
and people here about new ways to do business. I'd like to underline that. This is not.
Oh no, I wasn't finishing. I was just going to.
No. But I just thought I'd get that in because
before I start doing.
Before. Yeah. No, it's a very important thought because my experience of dealing with people, and I know people from all around the globe, and I do know people from parts of Africa who have been born and brought up there, who are white and have an attitude that I find interesting.
What kind of attitude?
I feel that it was singularly inappropriate because the continent is full of dynamic, clever, skillful young people.
Yes.
And the facilities available to Africa, including its natural resources and its diversity of ideas, culture, and people, is immense.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't. My view, for what it's worth, is that Africa has everything it needs.
That's it.
It may look for examples elsewhere, but please don't
wish.
Follow everything.
Don't wish for
it. Don't wish to be Western. There's no need.
The thing is, I keep talking to people all the time, and this I think is the biggest thing I wanted to talk to you, especially you, of all my white friends, because you're a white male of a certain age who is seen to be privileged in a certain way.
Yes.
You've had to work harder than even some African people have had to work for what they've got.
Oh, absolutely.
In my experience. Yes, for people to sit there and say, but you lived in the UK, so you must be advantaged. But he's white, male of a certain age, so he must be advantaged. Being advantaged doesn't mean that you have everything that you need or want. All it means is maybe you have a bit of a step up than somebody else who's seen by society as being less than you. It doesn't mean that this person can't come up, work hard and pass you. It just means that perhaps your start wasn't as hard as someone else's.
Correct.
And
Very good point.
The reason why I wanted to talk to you in particular, because I know your journey, having left home early, having had to educate yourself, having had to stand up on your own 2 feet very early on in life and find your own way generally in life. I wanted you to talk to some of our young people and show them that not much has changed.
No, fundamentally it hasn't. We're all human, and humans, despite technology and process, are still human.
That's it. And the things that you say that apply to business applied to you 30 years ago still apply now, and will probably apply 30 years from now.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm sure it will happen to a degree, because we have it in banking, where you have effectively algorithmic business.
Yes.
Fully automated business. However, the world is populous. We are aspirants for various things, and there will always be the opportunity and people will always want to do something.
Yeah.
And as you say, the basic rules apply. What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? Who are you going to do it with? And how much are you going to make out of it?
Exactly.
And I have to say another thing that's very important.
Yes.
Obviously, you want to make money. Most people set out in business to make money.
Yes.
But that is not the be all and end all.
No.
It is not the be all and end all. Success comes in many ways.
Yes.
And it can be a combination of all kinds of things: acquiring skills, life knowledge, personal interactions, making a couple of quid, independence, philosophical.
Yes.
There are many, many things about business. The human condition is incorporated no more so than in launching your own business.
Yes.
Courage, tenacity, organization, faith, the ability to sit in a dark room with the light totally off, thinking, oh my God, what have I done? Yes. Oh my God, I've ruined everything. And the ability to walk out of the room and go, you know what? I'm still breathing.
Exactly.
I'm still here and I can still do it. And you will, I'll tell you, my life is, I'll be honest, and I think you know this. At one point in my life, I lived for 2 weeks in a phone box.
So
I lived because I had no money.
Yeah.
This is all my responsibility. It's not anybody else's fault.
Yes, of course.
So this is what I did to myself.
Yeah.
It's funny what you do. Despite your good, people have said to me, well, how on earth did that happen? Because you're okay, you're educated, you're intelligent, you're hardworking. I said, well, I don't know. I did it to myself. But I was in a phone box for 2 weeks. And I realized that isn't a good place to be. So I tell you, sometimes you may find yourself, and take from life's example,
yes,
you find yourself in a situation and you probably do need the pain.
Yes.
And it hurts.
Yes.
And this is, sometimes these are things that make or break you.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always made me.
Yeah.
The pain has always made me do so. And I think, right, that's it. I'm going to do it, go and do
And
something.
I'm not going back there again, because you form emotional calluses.
Correct.
Yeah.
But you don't need to, because you've moved.
Yeah.
You're not going to go back there because you instantly change.
Yes.
As you and I have said, well, we've discussed this before, and I don't know whether you remember this.
Yes.
When we're born, by the time you're 5 or 6, I think the house is built.
Yeah.
You can paint it, decorate it, add the extension. I mean, it's an analogy.
Yes.
We are what we are.
Yeah.
But we are always capable, if we are brave enough.
Yes.
To surprise ourselves.
100%. I agree with you.
Always.
I agree with you. And
Have
James,
faith.
honestly, there is nowhere that I would rather leave this interview but just on that.
There you go.
I think there will be don't hang up.
Okay, I won't.
Right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you got something out of this one. Just like all the others we're doing, keep your eyes out. There'll be much, much more. And I think we all want James again, you know? Producer? Yeah, we all want James again. Right, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for joining us. And I will see you all soon.